There are two very clear choices that you can make this weekend. 2 hours and 36 minutes of exhilarating fun, truly becoming one of the best theatrical experiences I have had this year, or spend 3 hours and 2 minutes with a film that casts everyone under the sky and guilts you into liking it for its religious themes versus being a coherent storyline that should be raved about for its merits. The choice is yours. I want to first start by talking about the film that I was the most excited about catching this weekend. F1, the movie starring Brad Pitt, directed by one of the most consistent hard hitters from modern day Hollywood, Joseph Kosinski, also responsible for movies such as Tron Legacy, severely slept on, Oblivion, and of course Top Gun Maverick. Through F1, the producers at Warner Brothers and Apple have specifically collaborated with the Formula One in order to ensure that this is as authentic of an experience for moviegoers, so much so that F1 purists don't scoff or roll their eyes at the series of events that take place. The closest parallel I can think of when movies have carefully worked with the official leagues takes me back to following the journey of Santiago Munez with Goal. His journey from Newcastle to Real Madrid had him interacting with the best of the business in several sequences. I went for this movie on the 25th of June in the IMAX in Mumbai, and oh boy, was it an atmosphere ideal for movie fans because it was a packed theatre, and who doesn't love that for any film on an opening day? The movie has opened to one of the biggest advance bookings for a non-franchise Hollywood film in India, and trust me when I say this, it deserves all the hype. It literally reminded me of the quintessential classic Hollywood blockbuster experience that I remember back in the day, where the trip to the theatre, preferably IMAX this time, is so worth it. The film follows the life of Sonny Hayes, played by Brad Pitt, who is a has-been Formula One racer who has essentially become a nomad, willing to take up any odd job at this point. His life is an absolute mess. However, there is some respite as his best friend, former teammate and current owner of the Apex GP F1 team, Ruben, played by Javier Bardem, recruits him. Of course, as he acknowledges his prowess as a driver, but realistically, also because the team is desperate, is going through severe financial turmoil, and well, his job is also on the line to win just one race in the 9 that are left. How Sonny Hayes, ancient for the sport at this point, assimilates with the team, specifically with their young talent Joshua Pierce, played by Damson Idris, and how they cope with the season forms the basic premise of F1 the movie. Right off the bat, I have to tell you that this isn't going to provide you something exceptionally out of this world from a plot standpoint. But you know what's the beauty of the storytelling of this film is that despite its expected beats, it had me at the edge of my seat throughout its running minutes. It actually gave me anxiety, wondering what the result is going to be about the race, and it still had the ability to make me oddly emotional in its conclusion. And ladies and gentlemen, that is the power of effective storytelling. That even something familiar can make you feel such a spectrum of emotions. The cinematography by Claudio Miranda is to marvel at. See, again, we're back to talking about this on the channel. Just the impact of real locations, real cars, the actors being in the cockpit of these beasts of machines, it has an impact that just cannot be recreated when something's digitally rendered. You remember the exhilaration you felt when Tom Cruise literally took off in a fighter jet from a US carrier in Top Gun Maverick? That is what director Joseph Kosinski has guaranteed in the races in this film. Beyond the cinematography, the races are further enhanced by the score provided by Hans Zimmer. I mean, you have the masters at play doing what they do best, and you cannot help but be absolutely swayed and invested. It's the perfect symphony of visuals and an operatic score with each dramatic turn of events that takes place in the races, making it just destined for box office gold. This is what cinema is truly meant to be about. Storytelling that momentarily makes you forget about your life. And I, after a long time, found myself almost becoming oblivious to my surroundings. That's when you know you're witnessing something special. The integration of some of the biggest stars and known faces from F1 immediately generated hooting and cheering in my theatre. The dynamic between the young and impatient Pierce and the cocky yet restrained Hayes generated several interesting moments, highlighting the importance of this being a team sport and how clashing personalities can often compromise the position of the teams. While the young Damson Idris is extremely confident in his role, Brad Pitt as Sonny Hayes is just as charming as I first saw him on the big screen in Troy in 2004. The man is 61 years old and just has a swagger and strut about him that makes him the perfect vessel to tell this tale of a man who lost his way when he was destined for greatness. There is a tough exterior that slowly breaks through a tender relationship that develops with Kate, played by Carrie Condon, that beautifully etches out what probably every aged sportsman has contemplated about when the world believed that they were going to be one of the best of their generation. The film ultimately becomes a beautiful concoction of heart, grit, and exhilarating races. I absolutely fell in love with the dynamic shared between Bardem and Brad Pitt, of best friends who look out for one another. Hayes trying his best to get his pal out of a sticky situation. I couldn't stop laughing when Bardem exclaims, "What's wrong with tennis or golf? Why do we even do this?" This is what the movies are meant to be. To transfix you, to transport you, and for you to exclaim after the screening, "That was a wild ride." I'm going for another screening this Sunday, by the way. You don't want to miss this. But on what I also saw this weekend, which made me exclaim something completely contrary to what I said after F1, I saw the Telugu movie Kannappa, and through this review I'm going to be as respectful, honest, objective and analytical about what I observed about the film. I hope that the makers understand that I'm going to use the most parliamentary language possible and denote what anyone should have the freedom to express in this country. If that is not the case, then truly we live in some concerning times. Kannappa is a movie that has been heavily advertised since the last few weeks, and from a pan-Indian perspective has come to the attention of the audience due to the several cameos of stars. However, if one were to take a deep dive on the tale the filmmaker Mukesh Kumar Singh wants to tell through the screenplay and story written by the leading actor himself, you would realize that this is a revered legend known by many, where an atheist tribal hunter in the 2nd or 3rd century became a Shiv Bhakt, noticing that a Shivling he tends to and brings offerings to is bleeding. He, for the Lord, offers his own eyes to stop the bleeding, showcasing his bhakti and devotion for Lord Shiv. The film and its themes can develop a fascinating tale of devotion. However, what becomes abundantly clear to me after finishing the film is that the main crux and heart of the story is only showcased in the final 30 minutes of the film, and the build-up to that event is scattered, boring, and rather confusing. Akshay Kumar plays the role of Lord Shiv and Kajal Agarwal plays the role of Ma Parvati, observing and noticing the evolution of this tribal boy from a very young age. The special effects and CGI work done in the film is rudimentary at best, and that becomes clear from the first frame showcasing Akshay and Kajal. However, the issue is not the amateur technical features of the film, but the setting in which the film is made. The film, from all the production news that I have read, has been largely shot in New Zealand, and its attempt is to present an Andhra Pradesh of a time before humans through capitalization ruined its natural flora and fauna. While the film looks grand due to the topography of New Zealand, it almost looks out of place for a film set in the 2nd century South India. The frames showcase a limited number of actors, making the tribes look like small gangs in this vast landscape. Sometimes, in order to fill the space, digitally rendered humans can be seen in the background, and through many portions you can actually notice local Kiwi extras, locals from New Zealand, that completely look out of place. This squeaky clean exterior actually weighs down the film in my opinion, as it's never consistent, often switching from natural locations in the day to digitally rendered backgrounds in the night, giving it a very inconsistent tonality. I must praise, however, the music composed by Stephen Devesey. 2 songs specifically, Shiva Shiva Shankara and Sansar Mein, sung beautifully by Kailash Kher, are actually soulful. The problem is that as a viewer, you have to wait for the devotional aspect of this film to kick in so late, the otherwise middling first half really tests your patience. And this specifically is regarding the politics of warring tribes and the romantic angle in the film. The film has extremely over-the-top or stale performances and nothing in between. Deeply emotional scenes are performed in the most monotone fashion. This heartbreaking scene with the father, played by R. Sarath Kumar, especially comes to my mind. On the flip side, a veteran like Madhu, playing the leader of a female warrior tribe, delivers the most exaggerated expressions. For veterans with such years of experience, it was quite alarming to see such a tonally off range of performances. The action blocks are extremely amateur in this film. It has a series of shots that showcase slow motion money shots, physics defying flipping around in the air, and even in moments when the combat is taking place between two characters, you see punches and headbutts flailing in the air versus actually making contact. While there are moments of some archery scenes actually having some impact, specifically when the main lead protects women from an oppressive tribe, this is like a needle in a haystack in a film otherwise inundated with poor action choreography. There are war sequences that should exhilarate you, but it is edited in such a haphazard fashion and in one instance has this blur effect that barely makes you comprehend on what is happening on the screen. The romantic angle makes you feel absolutely nothing, doubling down on the same tropes of Telugu commercial romance that we have seen in several films. This case of forbidden love is portrayed through several songs and dance where the two characters get intimate with each other, but you never really feel the longing both characters have for each other. The film trudges through these warring tribes, these antagonists who keep on screaming and yelling, battles that are just incoherent, and you just never feel the tension when dealing with several iterations of Khal Drogo. The screenplay jumps timelines abruptly. Mohanlal's cameo is effective in the film. However, I couldn't help but be distracted by his shabby appearance. The costumes and makeup in the film act as a huge hindrance through several portions of the film, never really making you feel like you've transported to the 2nd century. The film really takes the shape of becoming interesting with the integration of Prabhas in the screenplay. This is where dialogues actually make you introspect about the ideals of worship and what is sacred, and in contrast, what seems to be the rules created by humans to satisfy their own egos versus something Lord Shiv would want from his bhakts. While it was tough to focus on the visuals of Prabhas because you could clearly tell that his sequences have been shot in front of a green screen with the edges of his hair having a green spill or halo, his integration is actually what makes the film marginally interesting and have some soul. However, the respite is left far too late in the film for it to be justified or even be appreciated, as you as a viewer wanted a natural progression to the climax versus the shape that the screenplay took, which was a series of conflicts between warring tribes and a romance you barely cared for. Nothing justifies leaving the best for last when the journey of 3 hours and 2 minutes itself is so tiresome. And that was the video, guys. Write down in the comments below what you thought about Kannappa and F1. Please don't forget to follow me on Instagram. The handle is right in front of you. Follow me at JammyPants4. Also, please support us by smashing the like button and subscribing to our channel for weekly content ahead. Thank you for watching.